Dr. Ethan Cole sat alone inside the observation dome of Titan Station, a small human research outpost orbiting Saturn's largest moon. The place was silent except for the soft hum of the life support systems and the slow rhythm of his breathing inside his helmet. Outside the glass wall, a storm of golden clouds twisted and glowed inside Saturn's upper atmosphere, like living fire dancing in slow motion. Ethan had been here for 6 years. 6 long, quiet years of studying strange energy readings coming from deep inside the gas giant. Most scientists thought he was wasting his time. It's just radiation, they told him. There's nothing alive down there. But Ethan believed otherwise. There was a pattern in those energy waves, pulses that looked too organized, too rhythmic to be random. Sometimes, when he looked at the data for too long, he could almost feel something, as if something was watching him back. That night, the station's systems flickered. A warning light flashed red on his console. Energy surge detected, the computer said calmly. Ethan frowned. The readings were off the charts, far stronger than anything he'd ever recorded. He adjusted his instruments, trying to isolate the signal. Then suddenly the lights went out. Total silence. The hum of machines stopped. His breath echoed inside his helmet. For a few seconds, it was as if the whole universe had paused. Then the light came. It started as a soft glow in front of him, a blue shimmer that appeared in the middle of the observation dome. The glow grew brighter, forming into a shape, a figure. Ethan's heart pounded. He stumbled back, eyes wide, barely breathing. Before him stood a woman, or something that looked like one. She was tall, with silver blue skin that seemed to shine from within. Her hair floated around her head like threads of light. Her eyes were golden, warm and ancient, like tiny suns. Ethan wanted to speak, but words failed him. The being tilted her head slightly as if listening to his thoughts. Then a voice echoed, not through sound, but inside his mind. "Do not be afraid, Ethan Cole," he froze. "How do you know my name?" He whispered. The being smiled gently. "We have watched your kind for a long time. You are one who still looks at the stars with wonder. Few humans do." Ethan tried to process her words. Who are you?" "I am Lyra," the voice replied, "an emissary of the celestial order. My people live in the heart of the storms you study. We are energy, light made conscious." He shook his head in disbelief. "That's impossible. There's no solid matter there. No life." "Life," she interrupted softly, "takes many forms. You see only what your eyes can bear." She moved closer. The light around her shimmered like waves of calm water. For a moment, Ethan felt as if the station disappeared. The cold walls replaced by open space filled with billions of stars. He saw images flashing before his eyes. Ancient worlds, alien skies, civilizations rising and falling, and beings made of pure light drifting through the void. He could feel her emotions: sadness, hope, loneliness. It was overwhelming yet beautiful. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked quietly. "Because your world is changing," Lyra said. "Soon your kind will reach the stars. But the path ahead is dangerous. We wish to guide you, if you choose to listen." Her golden eyes locked with his. Ethan felt his heart race. There was something deeply human in her gaze, something that made him forget fear. It wasn't attraction in the ordinary sense. It was a strange spiritual connection, as if two different worlds finally understood each other. Lyra reached out her hand. Though she seemed made of light, he could feel warmth when her fingers brushed his. In that instant, a pulse of energy passed between them, a surge of brilliance that filled the dome with white fire. Ethan gasped as images and sensations rushed into his mind. He saw her world collapsing, stars dimming, and her people fading into darkness. Then everything went black. When he woke up, the lights were back. The instruments were normal. The air was still. Lyra was gone. Only one thing remained: a small crystal on the floor glowing softly with golden light. Ethan spent weeks trying to understand what happened. He analyzed the crystal endlessly. Its structure defied every known element. Sometimes, when he touched it, he felt warmth, almost like a heartbeat. But no one believed him. When he sent the data to the Space Research Council, they dismissed it as instrument malfunction. Colleagues laughed at him. A few even said he was hallucinating due to isolation. Eventually, the government closed Titan Station. Ethan returned to Earth, broken and discredited. Years passed. The world moved on. He retired to a small observatory in Alaska, where the night skies were clear and silent. He still kept the crystal in a glass case on his desk. Every night he stared at it, wondering if Lyra had been real, or just a dream born from loneliness. Sometimes, during the long Arctic nights, he thought he saw faint blue lights in the sky, moving in strange patterns. He wanted to believe it was her watching over him. Then, one cold evening, everything changed again. The sky outside flashed with a streak of silver light. Ethan ran out into the snow, shielding his eyes. A small craft, no bigger than a car, was crashing in the forest near his cabin. He grabbed his coat and flashlight, rushing toward the smoke. The snow hissed under his boots, the air filled with the smell of ozone and burning metal. When he reached the wreck, his heart almost stopped. The craft wasn't human. Its surface shimmered like liquid glass, shifting colors as if alive. The door opened with a hiss, releasing a soft golden mist. Inside, Ethan saw movement, a small shape. He stepped closer, afraid yet drawn in. Inside the pod lay a young girl about 6 years old. Her hair was silver white, glowing faintly in the dark. Her skin had a soft blue tone, and her eyes, those eyes were golden. Exactly like Lyra's. The girl looked up at him, calm and unafraid. Then in a clear, innocent voice, she spoke English. "Hello, Ethan Cole, my name is Eris." Ethan froze, his breath visible in the cold air. You know my name?" She nodded, smiling gently. "Mother told me to find you," his hands trembled. "Your mother?" The girl reached out, placing her tiny hand on his wrist. Her touch was warm, too warm for the icy night. "She said you would protect me. She said, I am part of you." Ethan's flashlight slipped from his hand and landed in the snow. He stared at her, unable to speak. The golden crystal in his pocket began to glow again, brighter than ever before. Above them, the clouds parted, revealing the stars. A faint, familiar shimmer crossed the sky, just like that night on Titan Station. Lyra's voice echoed faintly in his mind. "Our worlds are not so different, Ethan. The light you gave me now lives on." Ethan looked at the child, realizing the impossible truth. The girl's face was unmistakable. Her smile, her features, she looked like him. And in that frozen moment, surrounded by falling snow and the silent glow of the stars, Ethan understood. The night that changed his life 10 years ago wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Snow fell quietly outside Ethan Cole's cabin. The night was still, but his mind wasn't. He sat by the fireplace, staring at the strange little girl who had arrived from the stars. She was sitting on the couch, wrapped in one of his blankets, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Her name was Eris, and she claimed to be his daughter. Ethan still couldn't believe it. He paced the room, rubbing his temples. "This is impossible," he muttered. You're not real. You can't be." Eris tilted her head curiously. "You don't believe me?" He stopped and looked at her. Her voice was calm, but something about her presence made the air feel warmer. "I don't know what to believe," he said softly. 10 years ago, I met someone. She said her name was Lyra. Then she vanished. I thought it was all in my head, and now you're here saying she's your mother." Eris nodded. "She didn't vanish. She returned to her people. But before she left, she carried a part of you with her." Ethan sat down slowly, staring at the girl. Her words hit him like thunder. "A part of me?" She smiled, small and innocent. "Yes, you helped her understand humans. You gave her something no one ever had before. Hope." The fire crackled softly. For a moment, neither spoke. Ethan felt a strange pull in his heart. The way she looked at him, the way she spoke, it reminded him of Lyra. Gentle, wise, and yet she was clearly a child. "What happened to her?" Ethan finally asked. "Why send you here?" Eris looked at the flames. "Because the light of our world is fading. The heart of suns, the energy that gives life to my mother's people, is dying. Only human energy can save it now." Ethan frowned. "Human energy? You mean electricity? Power?" She shook her head slowly. "No, the energy inside you. The one that keeps you dreaming, fighting, caring. The Alindra cannot feel that anymore. They are fading because they lost emotion. You still have it. That's why I was born, to carry both lights." Her words made no scientific sense, but somehow they felt true. Ethan felt his throat tighten. "You're saying your people need us to survive?" "Yes," Eris said simply. "But not everyone wants that." Before Ethan could ask what she meant, the cabin lights flickered. The sound of a distant hum filled the air. Then, through the window, he saw them. 3 black aircrafts flying low over the forest, their lights flashing blue. Ethan's stomach dropped. Oh no, the Earth Defense Agency. The secret division that monitored all extraterrestrial activity. He had once worked with them long ago. If they found Eris, they would take her away. They would treat her like a specimen, not a child. Eris stood up calmly. They found me, she said quietly. Mother said this would happen. Ethan grabbed his coat. We have to go now. He led her out through the back door into the frozen forest. Snow crunched beneath their boots as they ran between tall pine trees. The air was sharp, their breath visible in the moonlight. Behind them, searchlights swept across the forest and the hum of drones grew louder. Stay close to me, Ethan said, his voice trembling. Eris followed without fear. As they reached a frozen river, she suddenly stopped and held up her hand. A drone was approaching fast. Get down, Ethan whispered, pulling her behind a rock. But Eris didn't hide. She looked up at the drone, her eyes glowing brighter. A ripple of light moved across her body. Then the drone froze in midair. Its engine stopped. It hovered silently for a moment before falling into the snow with a soft thud. Ethan stared at her in shock. How did you do that? Eris turned to him. I told it to sleep. You talked to it? She nodded. Machines listen if you speak in light. Ethan didn't know what to say. Every rule of science was breaking in front of him. But there was no time to think. More lights appeared behind them. They had to keep moving. They crossed the frozen river, the ice groaning under their steps. Ethan's lungs burned from the cold. He was no longer the young man he once was, but Eris moved as if the cold didn't touch her. After what felt like hours, they reached an abandoned mining shelter deep in the forest. Ethan locked the door and lit a small lantern. Both of them sat down, breathing hard. Ethan looked at the girl, still amazed. You really are part human, he said softly. You breathe our air. You feel cold, Eris smiled faintly. And I feel fear too. That's why Mother said I needed you. Ethan sat beside her, his voice calmer now. Eris, what did she mean when she said the stars are dying? The girl looked up at him. Her eyes reflected the lantern light like molten gold. The energy of the universe is slowing down. The Alindra have always kept the stars alive by guiding their light. But now their source, the heart of suns, is weak. Without it, all light will fade, including yours. Ethan stared at her, realizing the scale of what she was saying. You mean, not just your world, everything, Eris nodded sadly. Yes, but your kind carries something different. Your life force doesn't fade like ours. It grows stronger when you care, when you love, when you hope. That's why Mother sent me, to learn how humans keep their light alive. Ethan felt an ache in his chest. He had spent his whole life searching for proof that humanity mattered in the universe, and now a child from the stars was telling him that it did, that human emotion could save creation itself. Then we'll protect you, he said firmly. I won't let them take you. Eris reached out and touched his hand. You already are protecting me, just by believing. Before he could reply, a low rumble shook the shelter. Snow fell from the roof. Ethan rushed to the window and saw bright lights through the trees. The agents had found them. Stay behind me, he said, grabbing a flare gun. But before he could open the door, Eris stepped forward. Her small face was calm, glowing softly. It's okay, she said. They will not harm us. Eris, wait. Ethan called out as she opened the door and walked into the storm. Outside, the agents surrounded them, their suits black and their weapons glowing with blue plasma. One of them shouted, Step away from the subject! Ethan raised his hands, but Eris didn't move. She looked up at the soldiers, her golden eyes bright. I am not your enemy, she said, her voice echoing in the air. I came here because your world holds the key to life. Her words made the snow swirl faster. The lights from the agents' weapons flickered. Suddenly, the sky above them split open in a flash of blue light. Everyone looked up in shock. Through the clouds, a massive ship appeared, smooth and radiant like a floating sun. It hummed softly, sending waves of light across the forest. Ethan's mouth went dry. He recognized that light. It was the same energy he saw on Titan Station, the same presence. Eris turned to him, smiling through the falling snow. She's here, she whispered. Mother has returned. The soldiers shouted orders, their weapons raised, but the light from the ship grew brighter, washing over everything. The sound was like 1,000 voices singing in harmony. Ethan shielded his eyes. When the glow faded, a familiar figure stood before them. tall, radiant, and made of shimmering light. It was Lyra. Her voice filled the forest without sound. "Ethan Cole, the time has come to choose. Will humanity stand with us or against the light?" Ethan's heart pounded as he looked at her, then at Eris. He knew that whatever happened next would decide not just their fate, but the fate of two worlds. Then Cole stood in the snow, his coat flapping in the Arctic wind. The massive Alindra ship hovered silently above the forest, glowing like a sun frozen in the night sky. Lyra's form shimmered in front of him, her golden eyes full of both sadness and hope. Eris stood beside him, calm yet radiant, her small hand clutching his. The soldiers from the Earth Defense Agency froze in awe. They had expected an alien threat, a weapon, something to destroy them. Instead, they faced a being whose presence made everything else seem insignificant, the embodiment of light itself. Lyra's voice reached Ethan's mind, clear and gentle. "Ethan, you understand now. Your species holds what my people have lost. The heart of suns is failing. If it dies, all life in this galaxy will fade. Only your child and your kind can restore it." Ethan felt the weight of her words press down on him. His mind raced. "You mean Eris? She's the key?" Lyra nodded. "She carries the union of human resilience and Alindra energy. But it will require courage, trust, and sacrifice." Ethan looked down at the girl. Eris's golden eyes met his, and in them he saw determination far beyond her years. "Do you want to do this?" he asked. "Yes," she said softly. "Mother has always guided me. Now it's time for me to guide both our worlds." The soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons, but Ethan stepped forward. "Stop, she's not a threat. She's our hope." A senior officer hesitated. "Sir, we don't know what she is capable of. She is a child." Ethan interrupted sharply. "And she is not here to harm anyone. Listen to her." The officer looked at Eris, then at Lyra, and finally nodded reluctantly. "Stand down." Ethan exhaled, tension leaving his shoulders slightly. But there was no time to relax. Lyra extended her hand, and Eris stepped forward, leaving Ethan's side. The girl floated slightly above the snow as waves of golden light spread from her body, forming patterns Ethan couldn't comprehend. The wind swirled around her, carrying soft hums of energy that felt alive. "Mother," Eris whispered. "I am ready." Lyra smiled, her light intensifying. She reached out, touching the top of Eris's head. Their combined energy rippled outward, bathing the forest in golden brilliance. The stars above responded, twinkling brighter, almost as if they were alive and breathing. Ethan watched in awe. He had seen wonders in the cosmos, but nothing compared to this moment. A human child, a being born of two worlds, stood at the center of creation itself. Then came the challenge. The heart of suns, deep within the Alindra ship, flickered and dimmed like a dying star. Dark energy pulsed around it, threatening to collapse. Lyra's voice echoed urgently. "Focus, Eris. Feel your humanity. Let it guide you. Let your hope shine through." Eris closed her eyes. Ethan stepped closer, placing his hands gently on hers. "I believe in you," he said. "You have everything you need." The child nodded, and energy surged. Golden light streamed from her, weaving through Lyra, then into the heart of suns. The dying energy began to pulse stronger, brighter. Waves of brilliance shot through the night sky, visible across continents. The soldiers and Ethan shielded their eyes as the forest glowed with the power of creation itself. But the task was not without risk. Eris's small body trembled as the immense power flowed through her. Ethan feared she might vanish, or worse. He whispered over and over, "You can do this. You are not alone." Minutes felt like hours. Then, with a final burst of light, the heart of sun stabilized. The dark energy dissipated. Stars flickered back to life, and the ship's glow softened to a peaceful radiance. Eris floated gently down into Lyra's embrace, glowing faintly but smiling. Ethan ran forward, hugging her. She was safe. She was alive. He could feel her warmth, her heartbeat, and knew that humanity, through this small child, had made a difference in the universe. Lyra approached, her form now calmer, less intense. "It is done," she said. "The balance has been restored. Your species, your humanity, has rekindled hope across the galaxy." Ethan looked at her, tears in his eyes. "So, she really is my daughter?" Lyra smiled gently. "She carries your heart, Ethan. And in that heart, both our worlds have found strength." Eris hugged him tightly. I am part human because of you, and part Alindra because of Mother. Together we can protect both our worlds." The Earth Defense Agency watched silently. Their weapons were lowered, their fear replaced by wonder. One officer muttered, We didn't understand. We thought we were looking at an alien threat. But this is incredible." Ethan stood looking at the sky. The stars above shimmered brighter than he had ever seen. A quiet peace settled over the forest. Lyra turned to leave. "My work here is done, but our bond remains. Watch your daughter. Protect her. And remember, humans are stronger than you know." Ethan's voice cracked. "Will I ever see you again?" Lyra's form shimmered one last time, merging with the light of her ship. "I am always with you, in her, in the stars, and in the hope you carry forward." With a flash, she and the ship disappeared into the cosmos. The forest was dark once more, but the glow of the stars and the warmth in Ethan's heart remained. He held Eris close. "You did it. You saved them. Both worlds," Eris smiled softly. "We did it, Father. We did it together." Days passed, and the story spread quietly among scientists and observers worldwide. Humanity knew something incredible had occurred, though no one fully understood it. Ethan and Eris stayed in the Arctic observing the stars. Ethan taught her about Earth, human history, and the ways of their world. In return, she shared knowledge of the Alindra, energy, and the cosmos. Through her, Ethan saw that humans were more than fragile beings. They were resilient, compassionate, and capable of shaping the universe in ways no one had ever imagined. And years later, when Ethan stared at the night sky, he sometimes saw a faint glow streaking across the heavens. He smiled. A small voice echoed in his mind, gentle and golden. "We're still watching, Father, and we're proud of you." The child of two worlds, part human and part Alindra, had changed everything. Humanity had found a place in the stars, and hope had returned to the cosmos. Ethan held Eris's hand and looked at the sky, finally understanding the truth Lyra had shown him long ago. Humans were special. Humans could endure. Humans could light up the universe. And in that quiet, snowy forest, father and daughter watched the stars together, ready to face whatever the future held. Together.